Welcome back to the Awakening Feed. I'm Mary.
And I'm Michael, and we are so excited to dive into today's topic with all of you.
Absolutely, Michael. Today we're exploring a really profound concept, something that's been foundational to a lot of what we talk about here on the show. It's called the law of activation.
Yeah, it's such a powerful idea, really. I mean, it fundamentally shifts how you think about, well, your own personal growth and, your inner development. It's not something that just happens.
Exactly. We're going to unravel what that truly means and why it's so vital for anyone looking to genuinely grow and transform. So, stay with us as we unpack this really fascinating principle.
So, Mary, let's jump right into it then. What exactly is this law of activation? I mean, for me, it's one of those fundamental esoteric principles, that really just nails it.
Oh, totally. At its core, it's about understanding that your human consciousness, your inner growth, it can only develop through self-initiated, conscious activity. That's the key right there, isn't it? It's not something that happens to you.
Right, and this is huge because it challenges a lot of conventional thinking. It's saying, hey, no external force, seriously, none. Not divine, not spiritual, not even another person can trigger that real, genuine inner growth for you.
Exactly. You can't outsource your soul's development, It really means the individual, like you, me, or our listeners, we have to personally and voluntarily activate our own inner development. It's a very active process.
Yeah, it puts the responsibility squarely on your shoulders, which can be, a little intimidating for some, but also incredibly empowering, I think, because it means you're in control.
Absolutely. And that personal effort, that choice to consciously engage, it's absolutely essential. Without it, well, you'll see why in a bit.
That's such a crucial point you just made there, Mary, because if conscious activation is so essential, what happens, if someone just doesn't make that deliberate effort? What's the downside?
Well, the article explains it pretty starkly. Without that deliberate effort, that conscious push, development, it still happens, but it happens so incredibly slowly. I mean, it's almost unnoticeable.
Unnoticeable? For real?
Yeah, even over many lifetimes. That's what it says. It's not that nothing happens, but it's like watching grass grow through, a time lapse that takes eons. You just won't perceive the change.
Wow. So essentially, without that conscious activation, you're looking at minimal to no perceptible progress in terms of your inner development. It's painfully slow, isn't it?
Painfully slow is an understatement. It's you're just existing, and the whole point of the law of activation is to be an active participant in your own evolution, not just, passively floating along.
Yeah, because if you want to actually see the changes, if you want to accelerate that spiritual development, then just letting life happen to you, that's just not going to cut it. It really drives home the idea that you have to pick up the reins.
Exactly. Pick up the reins. And so if that's the case, if we have to pick up the reins, then what's the primary, what's the go-to tool for actually doing this activation, for being that active participant?
Yeah, that's a great question. And according to the article, the primary tool for this activation is meditation.
Right, meditation. And I think a lot of people, when they hear meditation, they immediately think of sitting cross-legged, chanting Om, or just, clearing your mind to relax. But this article really clarifies that it's so much more than just a relaxation technique or even just a mental exercise, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It frames it as a really systematic method. It's about focusing on desirable qualities, things like calmness or truthfulness, compassion, and really strengthening those. It's like, working a muscle.
Yeah, exactly. You're intentionally directing your attention to these positive attributes, right? And by doing that, you're nurturing them. You're giving them energy, allowing them to grow and become more prominent within you.
And it's not just about strengthening the good stuff, is it? It also talks about how it helps diminish the negative tendencies.
Oh, yeah, that's a key part. It says you weaken them by not feeding them with attention or energy. It's instead of fighting a negative thought, you just don't engage with it. You withhold your attention from it.
So it's not about suppression necessarily, but more about conscious redirection of energy. You're not like wrestling with your inner demons. You're starving them of the attention they crave.
Precisely. You're choosing where your energy flows. And where energy flows, that's what grows. So if you're constantly feeding your anger or your fear with attention, it gets stronger. But if you starve it and feed compassion instead, well, you see the difference.
That's really powerful because it makes meditation sound so much more active and purposeful than just, chilling out. It's a strategic process for inner growth. Yeah, it really does. And speaking of energy, that actually brings us to another super important concept the article brings up. It talks about how energy and willpower are just absolutely central to this. Like meditation isn't just about, mental exercises or just thinking, is it?
No, it's really not. And this is where it gets a little bit deeper, I think, for some people. It highlights that meditation is actually a form of energy work. You're not just, passively observing your thoughts. You're actively directing subtle energy.
Right, subtle energy. That's a good way to put it. It's not just brain power. It's something, more profound than that. It's like you're channeling something almost. And that's why it's not just a casual activity.
Exactly. And because of that, the article emphasizes that it has to be approached responsibly. You can't just, willy-nilly start doing intense energy work without, knowing what you're doing. It needs proper knowledge,
Yeah, that's a crucial point. It's not just something you pick up from a 5-minute YouTube video necessarily. If you're really delving into this idea of subtle energy and directing it, there's a certain, seriousness that comes with that. A need for guidance, maybe.
For sure. It's like any powerful tool, right? You wouldn't just hand someone a chainsaw without showing them how to use it safely and effectively. Meditation, in this context, is seen as just as potent, if not more so, for our inner landscape. So, yeah, responsibility and knowledge are key.
So it really transforms the understanding of meditation from just a feel-good practice to something that requires, conscious engagement with your inner energetic system. It's quite a shift in perspective.
It really is. And I think that brings us so perfectly to the next point, which is about the mental and emotional discipline required for all of this. Because if we're talking about directing subtle energy, that's not just a passive thing.
Right? You can't just, sit there and expect everything to happen automatically. The article really hammers home that effective meditation, this kind of work, it demands a significant amount of mental and emotional discipline. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's not a walk in the park, right? It's about training your mind, essentially. The ability to concentrate, to actually control your thoughts, is just so foundational. If you can't even focus, how are you going to direct energy or work on developing positive qualities?
Yeah, that's a fair point. It's like trying to build a house without a solid foundation. If your mind is just, constantly jumping from one thought to another, how can you effectively engage in this deep, transformative process? It just seems impossible.
Exactly. So it really emphasizes that the work isn't just about sitting still. It's about actively, consciously, and with discipline, directing your attention. And that's where the emotional discipline comes in too, I think. It's not just about what you think, but how you feel, and being able to manage those internal states.
Yeah, because, distractions aren't just external, they're internal. Your own thoughts, your own emotions, they can totally derail your practice if you don't have that discipline. So it's about mastering that inner landscape, isn't it?
It really is. And for anyone who's ever tried to meditate, they know it's not always peaceful. Sometimes it's chaotic. And that's where the discipline truly kicks in, to bring yourself back, to redirect, to maintain that focus.
That disciplined effort, that pushing through the chaos, it really leads us to another core concept that the article talks about, which is repetition. Because this isn't a one-and-done thing, is it?
Oh, no, not at all. In fact, it's probably one of the most underrated aspects of any personal growth journey, I think. The article really hammers home that sustained, long-term change, it absolutely requires consistent repetition. You can't just meditate once and expect a personality overhaul.
Right? It's like you wouldn't go to the gym once and expect to be, suddenly ripped, right? It just doesn't work that way. And I think for something as profound as integrating qualities into your consciousness, it's got to be an ongoing practice.
Exactly. It's that daily, consistent showing up, even for just a few minutes, that really makes the difference. Because by regularly meditating on specific qualities, let's say calmness or compassion, over and over, what happens is they start to become deeply integrated into your consciousness.
Yeah, and I think it's important to stress that it's not like immediately integrated, right? The article mentions it takes, weeks or even months for these traits to really truly become part of your personality. It's a gradual process.
It really is. It's almost like you're rewiring your brain, right? Or you're engraving these new patterns, these new qualities deeper and deeper into your being. And that consistent effort, that daily focus, is what makes them stick. It's what moves them from just a concept to a lived experience.
So it's not just about like understanding that you want to be more compassionate, but actually, doing the work, repeating the meditation until compassion just becomes like an automatic part of who you are. That's powerful.
Precisely. It becomes a default setting, It's not something you have to consciously strive for in every moment. It just flows from you naturally. And that's the ultimate goal of this kind of transformative work, isn't it? For it to become who you are.
Speaking of repetition and making it a part of who you are, it brings up another really interesting point the article makes. While all of these principles we've been talking about, they're universal, like the law of activation, conscious effort, meditation as a tool. There's also this very personal aspect to it, isn't there?
Absolutely, Michael. That's crucial. I mean, yes, the underlying laws are universal, they apply to everyone, but the actual practice, how you apply meditation to yourself, that's got to be totally bespoke, if you will. It has to be tailored to your own individual needs and like your current stage of development.
So it's not like, one meditation fits all. You can't just pick up a book and follow a generic meditation and expect it to be like the perfect fit for you at that exact moment.
Exactly. There's definitely no one-size-fits-all approach here. And I think that's super important for people to understand because sometimes you might try a meditation or a practice and it just doesn't resonate and you think, oh, meditation isn't for me. But it's more about finding what works for you.
Yeah, because, what might work for someone who's just starting their journey might be completely different from someone who's been doing this for like decades, right? Their needs, their challenges, their focus areas would be totally different.
Right. And it's also about how you're approaching it. The article does say there are clear guidelines, still, on how to use meditation responsibly. So, while it's personal, it's not a free-for-all, if that makes sense. It's about personalizing within a framework of wisdom.
Yeah, that's a good distinction. So it's about, understanding the core mechanisms. But then, okay, how does my unique consciousness, my unique personality, how do I apply these principles effectively for myself? It's a very active, self-aware process.
Precisely. It's not passive. It requires you to be engaged with your own inner landscape, to understand what qualities you need to strengthen, what tendencies you need to diminish, and then to choose the meditative focus that specifically addresses those.
So to kind of bring it all together, Mary, what's the big takeaway here? What does the law of activation truly tell us about meditation? Because, we've covered a lot.
Well, Michael, I think the essence is this. Meditation, as portrayed through the lens of the law of activation, it's not just some kind of relaxation technique, right? That's what a lot of people think, like, oh, I'll just sit down, clear my mind, chill out. No, it's so much more.
Right? It's a powerful tool for inner transformation. That's what it sounds like.
Exactly. It's about actively shaping your consciousness. When you use it consistently, and this is key, correctly, it truly becomes the most effective method for accelerating your consciousness and your spiritual development. It's not just a hobby, it's a profound path.
Yeah, it's not about escaping, it's about engaging. And, really bringing that deliberate effort, that conscious activation into your inner world.
Absolutely. It's a journey, of self mastery guided by your own intention and consistent practice.
Well, that brings us to the end of another fascinating discussion here on the Awakening feed. Mary, it's been quite a journey today.
It really has, Michael. And to all our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Take some time to reflect on what we've talked about today.
Yeah, and actually try to apply these concepts to your own journey of self-activation and inner growth. It's not just theory, right?
Exactly. It's all about practice. And we look forward to having you join us next time for more insights on the Awakening feed.
See you then.